It's time for the Buffalo Plus podcast.
Allen again rolls on the move, lets it fly. Oh, Diggs! Oh, what a catch!
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. We are officially 1 month away from the NFL draft, but we're hearing news already out of the NFL's owners meeting. We will talk to that. Plus, we have to ooh and ah over drawings. Yes, we will do it all. Plus, Dan Fate's here alongside Jenna's getting the day off today, but we welcome back in. Oh, like, comment, subscribe. Jenna's usually the host. Jenna usually hosts this. So we welcome back in. Vacation Mike is over. We are just back to regular Mike Catalana. Welcome back from Aruba.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was keeping up on what was going on. Obviously, you and Jenna did a great job keeping our Buffalo Plus family up to date on what was happening. And I think the Bills made some pretty interesting moves during that period of time. But I think things are still going to ramp up, Dan. I think between getting ready for the draft, there's free agents still out there. There's trades to be made. Sean McDermott's taking more control, like plenty of things still going on between now and when we finally see this team on the field.
Yeah, we'll talk draft and Hopkins watch a little bit more towards the end, but we will start there with the news of the day as we record this on Monday afternoon. Looks like Sean McDermott is going to take over the reins. He talked at the NFL owners meeting that it is trending that he is going to call plays for the defense. He's not going to bring in a outside defensive coordinator. He's happy with the defensive staff. Mike, your thoughts on this first?
Well, we were both at the Combine in Indy. When we heard that day, that was the day Leslie, the decision was made that he wasn't coming back. And so there was a change. And right away with Brandon Beane, when he talked, he was like, I have full faith in Sean as a play caller. This is where he cut his teeth. When I heard that, I thought, well, if Beane's going down that road already, McDermott's in. And Sean held back that day, but I think we both had a sense if they weren't aggressively going after a coordinator, a play caller type guy, it was going to be Sean. And you said, when you say cut his teeth, I mean, that's how he got the job as a play caller. The difference now is you're not just calling plays, you're calling plays while you're handling the head coaching job, which is big picture. And then it's the individual decisions, challenges, chiming in on the offense, going for it on fourth down, all those kind of things. And it's a lot. It adds a lot. But I think McDermott certainly has the ability to call plays. I think we know he can do that. But I think it's going to be an adjustment. I think it's going to be different. And we'll see how he handles it because this defense is going to be different than what we saw a year ago.
Yeah, I think just before we got on here to talk, we went through that roughly, give or take, depending on where you include some coaches nowadays, that about 1/3 of the NFL head coaches are defensive guys.
Right.
So, and I had like 8, and then it was if you included Pete Carroll or Bill Belichick, who now at this point have kind of evolved into just head coaches.
Yeah. I mean, Belichick has his hands in everything, but he was, obviously, as Bills fans know, from way back in the day, that's who he is. Pete Carroll's a defensive guy too. But yes, after all these years, and they're still influential. I think Belichick much more influential in what they do individual and defense. But, there's maybe, depending on the time, maybe 5 guys who do both, 5, maybe 6 who call plays or contribute to calling plays.
Yeah, I was looking at it. It was Todd Bowles calls the defensive plays for the Bucs. Brandon Staley does for the Chargers. Dennis Allen did at the start of last year for the Saints. I don't know if he gave it up. I was just trying to look at that. And then we don't know what Jonathan Gannon is going to do for Arizona this year. But those are the guys that most obviously stick out. You have other defensive guys. DeMeco Ryans for Houston. Don't know if he's going to call plays. Robert Saleh doesn't call the defense. Vrabel doesn't call the defense. So there are defensive coaches that don't necessarily call the defense. And I think that's where McDermott has fallen into for years. And I think that's part of the reason why Leslie Frazier got so much of the backlash was I believe that Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier has been a cohesive unit putting together. I think Sean has had his hands all over the defense.
Yeah.
But once it's gotten to game day, I really think that Leslie has called 95% of the plays. And there have been times where we have seen Sean on the sidelines with the play call sheet, and he's got the sheet up, and we're all sitting there, and we'd always ask him after the game, and he'd go, Leslie calls the game. Leslie calls the plays. So it's rare. It does worry me a little bit of there's just so much that goes on for a head coach and balancing everything. And like we talk about how I've said it before that I think calling plays on offense is the most difficult thing to do in professional sports coaching wise. But being in charge of a team, like you said, challenges, going forward on fourth downs, and now throwing in calling plays on half the side of the ball I'm not surprised that Sean's doing it. I do have a little bit of a sense of cautiousness.
Yeah, I'm with you on that because it does add to something. Look, I say make it real easy. Just go for it on all the fourth downs, right?
Love it. Brandon Staley does it.
Well, he's maybe not a good example because I think he's a lousy game coach. I'll say this. Sean gets criticism. We talk about this all the time. And Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, right? Brandon Beane gets big picture criticism.
Yes.
Occasionally, right? You got to get Josh more help. You got to fix the line, all this stuff. Sean McDermott is making decisions nonstop, all week, all game day, the whole thing. I think he's become a pretty good game day coach. Is he perfect? No. I think he's been more aggressive. He's even won some challenges, which, let's be honest, sometimes the challenges are, crazy. It's just like sometimes you just got to be smart in those things. Kyle Shanahan, throw the flag when the guy's going, run, but hey, whatever. Because you don't know. And some of that stuff, I think it's more of, do you have a mindset? We're going to be aggressive. You have Josh Allen. We're going to be aggressive. And I think if you lean on that, it doesn't totally take that out of your picture, but it does make it a little easier. Like, we're going to go for it most of the time. But in terms of calling the plays, it's going to be different this year, as we talked about. But I kind of like Sean McDermott. Part of me is saying, okay, I got some heat on me. This team flamed out, and I'm going to do it this way. Now, he has coaches who obviously will help. Yeah. And we know about this. We talked to Brian Dable about this. Like, even play calling on offense, it's not a, hey, kumbaya, we're all calling it. But there is contributions. Some teams have run game coordinators. They help set up certain plays and all that kind of stuff. I think on defense, that will be the case. Yep. But I kind of like McDermott saying, I'm not saying if I'm going to go down, I don't think he's in that spot, but if I'm going to get the heat, I'm going to be the one bringing it at the same time and then see what happens. So it'll be different this year. Speaking
of heat, Leslie Frazier, much more of a passive, maybe the wrong word, base defensive coordinator, kind of not overly blitz happy. And it's so funny for all the times that people will mention it and say, you got to blitz, you got to blitz, you got to blitz. And then I remember the one game on Sunday night that they beat the Chiefs. They didn't blitz once and they confused the hell out of Mahomes, and that the defensive line gave Leslie a standing ovation at meetings the next day because they were like, way to go, coach. Not to blitz him.
What did he write? Didn't he write down something like patience or he had a word because he wanted to? Look, I know fans get frustrated and they just say blitz. And when it works, it looks great. The guys you're worried about, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, like those guys.
You just can't do the same thing.
Eat it up. Yes.
I think that's part of it, is if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, it doesn't matter who they are. The quarterback they're going to find a way to beat it. So it's that randomness. And I think Leslie, again, I'm not going to sit down here and try and be some Leslie apologist, but I think he's done a hell of a job. And I think there will be some, I don't know, letdown, but like, I think there may be some revisionist history that we look back and go, damn, Leslie was really good.
Yeah. You made a point too. Like, he is Sean McDermott's defensive coordinator. So he's going to call the game in big picture the way Sean wants it called. And you do have Josh Allen. Now, you notice it a lot more because the offense, I know people are going to spit numbers at me. The offense wasn't great last year. And so now the defense is, that offense, there would be stretches where they would rarely punt, move it up and down the field, rarely go 3 and out. So they still made plays. They still had numbers. But they were giving the ball up between turnovers and punts way more than they normally did. And that puts more heat on the defense. So, But I think the idea is, look, we got Josh Allen. We're going to move the ball. We don't need to be getting beat on deep
Agreed.
balls. That
Agreed.
rarely still happened with them.
Yeah,
but
this was never a Bills defense that was like, we got to hold this team to 16 points so that we win. This is a don't give up 30 and we're probably going to win. So
yeah,
I guess I'm wondering, Mike, your thought. We also heard from Ron Rivera at the NFL Combine when we were there, and he talked about what type of defensive coordinator McDermott was, and what was that?
He used the word aggressive. Now, that was the defense that got him to the Super Bowl when they were in Carolina. And look, he learned at the foot of Jim Johnson. And Eagles fans, they had, top defense last year in the league, and Eagles fans are still calling for Jim Johnson to be blitzing. I mean, Jim Johnson coached the team back in the Super Bowl days, passed away at a younger age, and Sean took over. And people criticized Sean then for not being aggressive enough because Jim Johnson was just like, attack mode. It was a different NFL back then than it is now. So, but that's where Sean learned of, man, get yourself in position and send Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins after the quarterback, right? That's what the kind of thing they used to do. But aggressive can be a lot of things. That it isn't always blitz. It's maybe tighter coverage, not giving that pad. But the Bills have played. I mean, look, in the regular season, it's been pretty successful, right? I mean, it really has. They've been a top defense. The team's won. They win the division, all those things. The idea is when things change and you play against the best, can you adjust enough? And that's where there's fair criticism. But honestly, Dan, to your point, that criticism goes on Leslie. It goes on Sean McDermott, too, because he doesn't just close his eyes and say, okay, Leslie, it's all yours. So he's had a big hand in it up to this point.
Yeah, so I just don't know. And I guess that's what I was saying is that they are a cohesive unit. It's not just Sean McDermott's defense. It's not just Leslie Frazier's defense. It's a little bit of both. And that's why I'm just not sure that we will see that what Ron Rivera says about Sean McDermott as being this ultra aggressive, because I think if Sean McDermott wanted Leslie Frazier to blitz more, he would have just said, you got to blitz more. And that just isn't what happened.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But it's not just blitz, right? It's again, how you cover, there is times when you are worried, and most teams are just, it's a little bend, but don't break, but don't give up. Don't give up the big hitters. And, and that's
they've been pretty good at that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk drawings.
Well, hang on one second. What do you think of the Taylor Rapp signing?
It's fine. I think that is a little bit of COYA and cover your ass to make sure that if one of these injury safeties kind of gets hurt, I think he could also, I don't know, I'm not going to sit here and say I know a ton about him, but watching a couple of clips on YouTube, I think maybe he could also fill a little bit of the slot duties and kind of be that hybrid. He could also back up Taryn. He may be able to. I'm not going to say he is, but just some of those plays where I said, and I go, wow, he's a physical guy, not afraid to get in the box. And, he's played a lot of snaps. Yeah, a lot of snaps, started a lot of games for the Rams around the ball. I think he's got 9 picks in his career. It has been a starter in this league. Correct. These are the kind of signings I like. Again, in theory, I like it. He's a guy with a lot of experience. You sign him to a 1-year deal, relatively young compared to the other safeties. He comes in, looks good. You're creating that backup. You're also, not adding competition for those two, but you're adding competition for the whole position group. Correct. And and again, a little bit of cover your ass. It is. It's just smart. And these are the signings that go under the radar with a lot of teams. And guess what? There's going to be signings like this, not just the Bills, other teams. You'll see good football players join teams. Everybody's like waiting on those first 2 days of free agency. And this is a guy with a lot of starts in pressure situations, been in playoffs. So, yeah, I guess that's what a little surprising to me there are probably starting opportunities for Rapp to get a chance at, and he's coming to an organization and a team that has their safeties. Like, there's no, is this, we said we believe that Micah would have came back if they had played in the next round of the playoffs, but I guess that's where it's interesting to me to have this kind of signing, where it's a guy that has started a lot of games, I imagine could start for a lot of teams, and he's coming to a team that like you said, there's not competition to see who's going to start at
Yeah.
safety.
It'll be interesting to hear how they envision him and what they decide to do, but it's a 1-year deal. We'll see the numbers when they come out. But yeah, it's also two 30-plus-year-old safeties starting ahead of them.
Yep.
And one of them's contract ends next year, which would be Micah Hyde. So yeah, let's see how it plays out. But I like that because we know what ends up happening.
I agree.
Again,
I like
and
the
we'll
move.
see if this impacts Christian Benford too, in terms of saying, do they still look to see if he can play safety?
Yeah. All right. So now do you want to get our artistic hats on? We're going to get our berets.
Yes.
I think they're cool drawings.
Yeah.
The more renderings of the Bills Stadium came out today. You can go to the Bills Instagram. It's everywhere. The pictures. I think it looks sweet. I don't think there's a whole lot not to like about what this stadium could look like. And you're starting to get a little bit of that feel of it really does look like Tottenham Stadium. And again, go look at Tottenham Stadium. Like you really it has that European Soccer League feel, which to me is, again, not a big EPL fan, but the crowd feels intimate in those spaces. And I think that's what is the coolest thing that I'm seeing with this Bills new stadium.
Yeah, I like some of the other stuff too. The height, it's tall.
Yeah.
And it's designed to block out wind. Come on, Bills fans, when you go to a game and Dan, you're on the field. I think the wind is the worst part of the current stadium. It impacts when there's snow, when there's rain. It's just, you're so exposed. I like that went into it. I like that it looks and feels like Bills. We get into this simplistic part. Build a dome, no dome, and then sometimes, look, the Carrier Dome's a dome. I know they made it better, but it's boring just because it's a dome. It's a dome. I know that's not an NFL stadium, but you could build an outdoor stadium like, in New Jersey for the Jets and Giants and make it the most boring outdoor stadium that there is in the NFL, right? Yep. It's not just indoor, outdoor. There's something about a dome that appeals to a lot of people, and some people, no, I don't want it. But they weren't going to do it. We knew it. They weren't going to do it. So if you're going to build outside and you're going to build in Orchard Park, at least do something. I like that kind of entranceway. And somebody look, I'm old. I've been around a long time. I wasn't at the rock pile, okay? But I saw pictures of the old rock pile stadium, and I don't know if it played into it. I saw someone mention on Twitter, it kind of does have a similar look to the front of that stadium. And again, that may not be anything, but people who look at the old photos and see that, I don't think there's anything about the current stadium that I want to copy.
Nothing.
It's great atmosphere because there's great fans who come to the games.
Correct.
Okay. But the stadium's bad. It's close. You're close to the field. If you're down low, great. If you're up top, you're sitting in downtown. There's your downtown. You're far enough away, I think. So I like the look of it. It's cool. You see the pictures. It's still a few years away. But I like.
But you're starting to see, and like I said, and as the renderings become more and obviously the renderings are subject to change and things can be tweaked, but you're starting to get that sense of what it could look like. They even had some pictures of like the bars in the stadium, which was kind of cool, and to get to see where people could congregate and things like that. I'm with him, Mike. As we've gotten to, and you've been to 100 more stadiums and games than I have, but like you come back to Buffalo, and like I said, I talk to Bills fans elsewhere, and I go to a Bills road game because that's cool. Because you get to see the Bills win or play well at this level, and you get to see Josh Allen, but you also get to see some really cool freaking stadiums.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where I am at now. And I go, it'll be nice that the Bills are now in that group, that this isn't some totally outdated football venue. To have this is just going to be special. It does. Again, you said it's a few years away. Seeing those pictures this morning, waking up, I was like, this is pretty sweet. Like this is going to be exciting time to be a Bills fan in Orchard Park.
I agree. I like the coolness factor of a new stadium. Look, and any new stadium is going to have some of that, right? Some of it. I think they've really
MetLife doesn't have much of it.
No, I mean any new stadium the Bills would have built.
Oh yes.
I'm more disappointed in MetLife Stadium than any stadium. It just amazes me. I mean, yeah, there's some nice parts to it on the outside,
Yeah.
but it's boring. It's boring.
Yeah.
So boring. These other ones, there's the other ones, Philly, Nashville, Foxborough. They all have like the cool sort of Tampa got like a landing area. Tampa's a really nice stadium. Got like a landing area for people to watch and congregate.
Yeah.
It'll be cool. It'll be cool for the future.
Again, if you, like I said, go watch a soccer game and see how the players, in my opinion, interact with the fans, because they're able to. Obviously, it's going to be different. There's bigger sidelines and things like that for players and things like that. But watch when they score a soccer goal and they get to be right up with the fans. And that's kind of the vibe that I can see from some of those really cool renderings. So make sure you go check those out.
Yeah. And what I hope is that there's more room on the sidelines so that I can come down and join you and Jenna down there and stop getting grief for being in the press box. Yeah, maybe
Totally.
not. No, I'm getting the press box.
Well, you'll be down there when it's the 75-degree September game.
That's a little hot. I'm going to wait till it's like 60,
Gotcha.
62 in there.
With a quarter zip. And you'll have on the Buffalo Plus quarter zip.
Got it right here, baby. I'll be ready.
Finally tonight, draft. We are officially 1 week away as we record
1 month.
this. A month. Sorry, 1 week. We are 1 month away. My opinion, Mike, I'll go first. I don't think the Bills have done anything in free agency that has deterred them from, besides signing a safety. I think that's the only thing. And honestly, I'd still be okay with that if they wanted to. So I'm not against anything. I don't think any of these moves, while again, I think the Jordan Poyer signing was huge. I really did like the Damian Harris signing. But I think the door is still wide open for whatever Brandon Beane had talked about or thought about a month ago. I think he's still good to do in a month coming. I'm
with you. I look at him and say, okay, what are they not doing? Well, they're not taking a quarterback early.
Correct.
Yeah, we know that. Okay. I really don't think they're taking a running back early, even though some people want to go down that road. When I say early, I mean the first round. I think they have too many other needs, in my opinion, to do that. You're holding off. You think there's still a chance?
I think there's still a chance.
Yeah, I'm not. Okay. I think it could be a tight end. I think it could certainly be offensive line. They've done nothing on the D line, outside of, we still could see a move on their own D line, Ed Oliver. They could go there. They certainly, I don't think they're going to go super early on corner. They love Benford.
I agree.
And they drafted a guy number 1 last year. But I think offensive line should be a priority relatively early. It still is. They've made a couple moves to bring in guys like you don't know. But so you still think running back could be the case, huh? I know you got some people telling you they're in on Bijan, right?
Yeah, and it's also the fact of whenever McDermott talks about it, he talks about playmakers, and it's playmakers, and especially after Judy Batista talked to Sean McDermott at the owners meeting, and Sean pretty much, this is off-season Sean, so this is a very open, relaxed, freeing Sean, which is very fun for us to work in the media. Pretty much said that like Josh can't be taking these hits. And while I don't love that thought, if that's how you feel, Sean, and that's what you want, you have to do something to allow that to happen and replace those yards. So you can't just say,
no, go ahead.
You can't just say, I want Josh Allen to run less and take less hits because this isn't sustainable. As he said when he talked to Judy Batista, like you need to, if that's how you feel, you have to do something that replaces that. So that needs to be adding a running back, playing more of this. And again, they had James Cook last year. They still were interested in Christian McCaffrey. I still think that they are wanting to find the guy. And I don't think signing a 1-year Damian Harris is necessarily saying we're done.
No, but if you look at the good teams, they're not investing that heavily in running backs in terms of draft picks. The Bills have invested more than most teams. But if you look at a combination for this season, where you have Damian Harris, you got James Cook, and if they decide to make Nyheim Hines part of the offense, it's kind of the setup you want.
I understand.
Yeah, but man, you hear people talk about Bijan Robinson and the kid from Alabama, too, maybe a
Yep.
little bit later, but I don't know.
I was listening to Todd McShay, and he said there wasn't anybody that he had talked to that had Bijan outside their top 3 best prospects.
Best prospects, yes. And
Best
that is
prospects.
interesting. Yeah, I see that sometimes, it's because you'll see best prospects are a certain thing, and then the way they think the draft will go, which is why quarterbacks are always, like Will Levis is top 10
Yeah.
because people believe quarterbacks are going to go there, and running backs would be the opposite. They usually wait till later. Yeah, I mean, look, that's a major change if you do that. And you never know whether you're going to get the guy anyhow. So you said he's not a 1-year deal. Look, they can maneuver the offense and maneuver the roster a little, but I want to see him invest in the offensive line. We've been talking about it. Signing a couple of guys is great. I want to see him invest in it. So it's boring,
Yeah.
We'll be sitting there on draft night looking for highlights of a, right guard, but but it's boring, but it shows it
and
works.
if that's the case, and you know me, it's the running joke. I hate running the ball, but other teams do it because they have good offensive linemen that are designed to run the ball.
Oh.
So if this is what you say you want to do, then do it. And if you want to cook lasagna, don't go out and get steak or some type of elbow macaroni. Like, go buy lasagna. Like, I don't get it that, like, we're at this point where we're sitting
Are
there.
you hungry? Is that why you said?
I'm going to have lunch, but I'm just saying, like, if you're going to go out there and do this, and this is the type of team you want to be, then fill your team with players that fit what you want to do.
Well,
and so
or
if
at least
you want to be this
bring
team that
in
runs
some
the
of
ball
those
more,
guys. Yeah.
yes. If you want to run the ball more, that is fine.
You know what? I saw a number in that Judy Batista thing.
Yeah.
And I guess we've talked about this, but it was the percentage of plays that end with Josh Allen being tackled.
Yep.
And sometimes if you just take a breath, you talk to somebody who, follows the game. It doesn't, you're like, well, don't they? No. There's a lot of plays where the quarterback does not get tackled. He slides or he runs out of bounds.
Yeah.
Josh, let's be honest. Anecdotally, if I'm just thinking, like, man, when he runs the ball, he's usually getting tackled. That's what I would
two
like
out of
to
three
see
times.
them.
Two out of 3 times he
that's a
runs,
lot.
he gets tackled.
That's a lot. So some of that's on him. Like, don't take the hit because it's there's a moment in the game you're going to do it. So you can do both, Dan. You can get somebody to take some of those. I like the Harris signing. I like him as a player.
I love the Harris signing. This is the first time where Sean McDermott says we want to be a physical team. Well, they finally got a physical running back.
Yeah.
And yeah, Devin Singletary was nice in short yardage and had some tough runs. Damian Harris is a tough runner. Jen and I did the blog last week at this time. So if you want to go back, Mike, somebody called me a negative Nancy because I didn't think Trent Sherfield was going to change the Bills offense. That was after I spent 8 minutes oohing and eyeing over how much I loved Damian Harris. And I thought this was me complimenting a running back. And somebody said they should call it Buffalo negative Dan or something like that. So
really? And by the way, if it's negative Nancy or negative Ned, I'm getting a guy's name. Like, we're not sexist here. So
yes.
Yeah.
That could be negative Ned.
Yeah. And that's not negative. Look, he could surprise people. He could be good, but I don't think anybody's going, oh boy, and you're in on DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I am. For the right price. That's what our source is telling me. And this reminds me, and it's funny that just you and I are doing this blog, because this reminds me a lot of the Zach Ertz saga that we went back and forth with, because the source I'm telling me was the same source that I was asking about Zach Ertz, and the Bills were interested. I kept checking in. Are they interested? Are they interested? Yes. But it kept being, Philly's asking too much. The asking price is too high, and the deal never got done.
Right.
And that's kind of the same vibes I'm getting with this Arizona. Was that the report came out yesterday from Jeremy Fowler saying they want a second and a third, and teams are telling Fowler that that's just too much. They're going to need to come down from it. The contract's going to need to be reworked. So I have a little bit of Zach Ertz vibes, but I think DeAndre Hopkins, he played 9 games last year, had over 700 yards, and he had Curly Larry and you and me throwing him the football. So I think there's still some left in the tank. I think that I agree that it's a lot of money, but I also agree that salary cap isn't real, and we move it around.
Yeah,
and you can get something done. And I think he brings, as of right now,
well,
Mike.
He certainly brings talent. I mean, we
Mike,
know that.
Last year, heading into training camp, we did a blog about what position was I most worried about.
And
you
said
guys
wide receiver.
And I said wide receiver.
Yeah.
And I look at this team right now, and I look at the wide receiver room, and I go, I think it's a bottom third wide receiver room.
I'm with you.
I have
if not
major
for, and Diggs keeps it from being, I mean, obviously he's their best receiver. By the way, I'm curious if you know this. You said Curly Larry. Do you know who the third is?
It's Mo.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's old school, but I just,
yeah,
not everybody knows that. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I think honestly, I think Hopkins turns the Bills back into, odds wise, a Super Bowl favorite.
Well, he certainly would become, I mean, it's kind of be an interesting dynamic with Diggs. Diggs wants help, but he likes to be the guy.
Diggs would be the best receiver. And I know somebody commented in that Andre Johnson played with Hopkins, I think his last year, something like that. What Andre Johnson was at the end of his career necessarily isn't what Stephon Diggs is right now. So if DeAndre Hopkins comes here now, Stephon Diggs is the best wide receiver he's ever played with, and vice versa. DeAndre Hopkins is the best wide receiver that Stephon Diggs has ever played with. Like it's a dynamic duo that projects this wide receiver room, in my eyes, into top 5 in the league.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of, can you make it work? Now, ideally,
well, we have Ken Dorsey. What's there to worry about?
Ideally, you'd want that talent on a rookie deal, not a guy who's making a lot of money who wants, but yeah. Well, you got Josh Allen throwing, you got Hopkins going up and getting it. You got Diggs torturing people on the other side. Yes, it would be really good. It would be really good.
We'll wait and see. All right. Like, comment, and subscribe. We're happy to have Mike back from Aruba. Comment in. Are you interested in DeAndre Hopkins? And are your thoughts on Sean McDermott calling plays for the defense? So want to hear what you guys have to say. Plenty more coverage. We're a month away from the draft. Go look at some renderings. We'll recap it all. Plenty more coverage as always here. Like, comment, subscribe. For Mike Catalana, I'm Dan Fates. Thanks for watching.